Spring is the perfect season for journeys, and postcards from afar sparked Duffy and Friends' endless imagination of a springtime voyage. For those who are wondering, this is the official description from Hong Kong Disneyland in their promotional short for this year's springtime event, Duffy and Friends Playdays, running from March 20th to June 7th in 2026. This year marks the 4th year that this Duffy event is held since its introduction in 2023. I know what you're thinking. Hey, it's that guy who hates Duffy and Friends again. And I will admit, I do have something to say about this year's Playdays event. However, there is an interesting approach I noticed this year which I would like to bring up in this video. So today, let me share with you my honest review on Hong Kong Disneyland's Duffy and Friends Playdays 2026 edition, alongside some of the 20th anniversary offerings that are tied into this event. Before we continue, I highly recommend you to watch the official stop-motion film from Hong Kong Disneyland released 1 month before the event. This video is called Join Duffy and Friends for a Springtime Voyage, and it's very important to what I'm going to talk about next. One day in spring, Duffy, Gelatoni, Ninabelle, and Olu Mel received some postcards from none other than Mickey Mouse.
"You reminded me of our little shows,"
said Mickey. Duffy turned the postcard and noticed several locations. The little stage from Mickey's PhilharMagic in Fantasyland, the treehouse from the Duffy float in Friendtastic, and a steamboat alongside a lighthouse. This lighthouse is actually the Cape Cod Lighthouse at Tokyo Disney Sea, where Duffy's origin story and his journey with Mickey began.
"I can just picture us having a picnic here."
Duffy and Friends looked out to sea, realizing that they were standing at the exact location with the lighthouse close by, but the steamboat wasn't present. Therefore, Duffy and Friends decided to follow the trail of the postcards to journey together. According to the map from Ninabelle, Duffy and Friends sailed from the Disney Sea lighthouse to the woods, encountering Stellalou, presumably a reference to a show, Stellalou's Wonderful Wishes Ballet. Next, they went to the treehouse from Friendtastic, encountering Cookie Ann and Shelly May. With all 7 members now together, Duffy and Friends made their final stop at Hong Kong Disneyland's Castle of Magical Dreams. Duffy had a look at the last postcard from Mickey, showing the castle with fireworks.
"I wished that you were all here sharing this moment,
Suddenly, Duffy and Friends heard a loud horn from the sea, and then they saw a steamboat with a very familiar face on board. Wearing his new sailor outfit, Mickey Mouse rode his iconic steamboat, Steamboat Willie, from his very first short in 1928 to reunite with Duffy and Friends at the harbor. With his friends on his side, Duffy ran to Mickey and gave him a big hug, suggesting that they haven't seen each other for a long time. The short ends with Mickey alongside Duffy and all his friends as they watched the fireworks on Castle of Magical Dreams while on board Steamboat Willie. I actually really like this short from Hong Kong Disneyland. It shows a very different approach when compared with most of the Duffy stuff nowadays. The most important part is that in this short, they are finally acknowledging Mickey Mouse. Duffy is Mickey's very own teddy bear in his origin story. He is supposed to sail with Mickey all the time. However, in recent years, when Duffy made more friends, the park decided to focus more on Duffy and Friends instead of Mickey. For most of the Duffy-related occasions, only the 7 of them are featured, and Mickey and Friends are often left out. Now, they have Duffy and Friends reuniting with Mickey, not just doing Mickey fans a big favor, but also bringing the Duffy and Friends franchise back to its roots, where it all started with a mouse. A beautiful full circle moment, especially for the hug between Mickey and Duffy. It's like a father and son reunion, or to some extent, even a parallel to Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse. It kind of feels like Hong Kong Disneyland, at least some of their divisions, is actually aware of the criticisms and backlash. They realize that there are people out there like me who hate Duffy and Friends because of this event wiping out Mickey from the park every spring. It feels very different when I see Mickey being a part of Duffy and Friends playdays. I really appreciate their effort of trying to redeem the controversial springtime event and ensure the presence of Mickey, as well as the fact that Mickey and Duffy are supposed to be together. However, here comes the big question. This is just a little short film to promote the event, but does the main event manage to redeem itself? Can this year's Duffy and Friends Playdays finally make me stop hating Duffy and Friends after the huge disaster from last year? And nope, unfortunately not. I tried to give them a chance, but they have still failed me. That is because, despite all my efforts to stop them, Hong Kong Disneyland still ignored my opinion and brought back that one thing I despise the most in this park of all time. That is, changing the iconic Mickey floral to the atrocious Duffy floral at the park entrance, the 4th springtime in a row, and for over 2 months until June 7th. If you have watched my previous videos, you will certainly know that I've already had a strong dislike on the Duffy floral ever since it replaced Mickey during the first Duffy event in 2023. Before that, nobody has ever replaced Mickey at the front gate at Hong Kong Disneyland, and yet I don't think Duffy deserved that spot. This teddy bear just doesn't have enough global recognition and appeal when compared to Mickey Mouse, who pioneered the animation industry nearly a century ago, and still remained the main image of Disney till this date. Duffy doesn't even star in any movies to make people know him more. So far, I can only think of a few short cameos from the reboot series of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which is now available on Disney+. Other than that, it is possible that people entering the park may be confused by who this character even is and why they cannot find any signs of Mickey. To make matters worse, the Mickey flag at the Main Street station is also replaced by a Duffy flag for a second year, while the other flags showing the friends of Mickey remain unchanged. Having Mickey specifically completely disappearing from the entrance strongly irritates me, especially when we have got used to Mickey being the boss and welcoming you at the entrance for so many years. I personally grew up with Mickey and haven't followed much with the Duffy stuff most of the time, so the Duffy floral does not resonate with me, but instead makes me hate Duffy and Friends, especially how biased Hong Kong Disneyland is towards Duffy. Sure, some of you would argue changes should be made over time, but there are just some changes that really ruin the feeling of a traditional Disney theme park experience. This is one of those changes that I totally cannot accept, because the Duffy floral is directly at the park entrance, with no way to avoid it aside from not visiting the park during this whole period. Remember, Hong Kong Disneyland does not have a second entrance similar to bigger parks like Epcot or Tokyo Disney Sea. So when everyone enters the park, they would definitely pass through this area, and not seeing Mickey or other classic characters at the center stage makes Hong Kong Disneyland not feel like a Disneyland, but instead a Duffyland, as Duffy fans describe. And yes, I am aware that other Disney parks may also occasionally switch floral Mickey to other characters, but the characters they choose are more famous and recognizable, and deserve that spot more than Duffy. Also, the reason for the change may sometimes be for something meaningful. For example, Floral Mini replaces Mickey every March in Disneyland California, Disneyland Paris, and Shanghai Disneyland in celebration of the International Women's Day. Personally, I really don't mind this change. Minnie is Mickey's favorite gal pal and debuted alongside him in 1928. Minnie is also a classic and famous character, so she definitely deserves as much attention as Mickey. Also, the reason behind the change is to celebrate International Women's Day and Women's History Month. Look, I'm definitely not a woman, but I have a lot of friends out there who are female, and I really appreciate Disney for acknowledging them as well as this special day. The mini floral, in this case, is truly meaningful, and I find it rather weird that Hong Kong Disneyland didn't have that during any of the International Women's Day celebrations. Another example is the Donald floral at Tokyo Disneyland in 2024 during a Donald Duck event to celebrate his 90th birthday. I don't mind Donald replacing Mickey either, because he is also a classic character. In fact, the rivalry between Donald and Mickey have been present for so many years. In context, it's funny to see Donald finally achieving his dream of taking over Mickey, especially in time for his big day. Shanghai Disneyland also has a Donald floral, but instead of his birthday, it is made annually as part of their Halloween event. Honestly, I originally hoped Donald floral would also appear at Hong Kong Disneyland, since there were pretty sizable celebrations for Donald's 90th birthday in 2024. But no, all Hong Kong Disneyland had was still Duffy. You know, if they can have other characters throughout the year instead of just Duffy replacing Mickey, I would not have been this mad and tired of Duffy and Friends. At least it would be fair to different characters and shows that they don't just care about Duffy only. Shanghai Disneyland also has a Duffy floral and Duffy event, but since they feature Floral Minnie, Donald, and other characters in the same year, I also wouldn't mind. Also, Shanghai Disney's Duffy event only lasts for 1 month in September. The way they handle Duffy and Friends is better because it is based on Mid-Autumn Festival, a seasonal event exclusive to Shanghai Disney Resort. During the event, Mickey and Minnie also gain new outfits alongside Duffy and Friends, and their outfits are really stunning. Duffy is Mickey's teddy bear made by Minnie, so I always think that the iconic mouse duo have to be included in Duffy occasions, and Shanghai Disney definitely shows that they understand the importance of Mickey and Minnie. Meanwhile, there was one year, I believe it was 2022, where they made Floral Ninabelle. Ninabelle made her historic debut at Shanghai Disneyland in 2021, so they definitely had every reason to do that. Ninabelle is basically their icon, and she was celebrating her first anniversary that year. Additionally, Judy Floral and Nick Floral were made to promote the world's first Zootopia-themed land located at Shanghai Disneyland. Zootopia and its sequel are created by Walt Disney Animation Studios, the main studio of Disney that brought us all the classic Disney movies. This franchise is very popular, especially in mainland China, and with Shanghai Disneyland currently being the only Disney theme park to have a Zootopia land, it definitely feels right to have more presence of Zootopia characters over there. Back to Hong Kong Disneyland, I still don't think Duffy deserves to replace Mickey. 2 months is just way too long, and the way this event was held in previous years was honestly pretty bad considering how much Mickey and Friends were omitted. Duffy did not make his global debut in Hong Kong Disneyland, so he is not supposed to be an important character here. In fact, he first debuted at Tokyo Disney Sea in 2005. Of course, it was the same year when Hong Kong Disneyland opened, but I don't see this part acknowledging that either when promoting these Duffy events. Instead of Duffy, it was Cookie Ann who debuted at Hong Kong Disneyland, by the way. She may not be a classic character, but I may understand them As long as this is someone or something that is special to this theme park specifically, similar to Shanghai Disneyland's Zootopia and Linabelle. For example, Mystic Manor is a unique and critically acclaimed attraction at Hong Kong Disneyland. There are international fans out there who come visit this park just for Mystic Manor. If this park can do an Albert the Monkey flower for the Mystic Manor event in May, maybe I would change my mind. So at this point, the only solutions to make me stop hating Duffy and Friends and this Duffy event is that either Hong Kong Disneyland stop bringing back Floral Duffy forever, or they give us different characters such as Minnie, Donald, Chip and Dale, Olaf, or even Albert the Monkey throughout the year, while limiting the Duffy flower to only 1 month or less. But no, it does not seem that Hong Kong Disneyland would listen. The main reason why they keep bringing back Floral Duffy is just to promote the event, which is held mostly for money because Duffy and Friends are popular. Really nothing meaningful, at least that's what I think it is. Because ever since this event was held, Hong Kong Disneyland returned to profitability, earning their biggest profit in history last year. And I expect they will probably earn another profit this year, given all that focus on Duffy and Friends as well as several budget cuts around the park. So in the end, it is extremely disappointing for me to face this atrocity once again. 0 stars out of 5 for Floral Duffy. Get rid of that mess, or I will stop visiting this park for the foreseeable future. Okay, too much. Frankly speaking, this is just one negative thing about the event. Even though the Duffy flow has pretty much ruined everything, there are still some positive things I would like to say. If not, this review wouldn't have been that long anyway. As you enter Town Square, you might be surprised that there aren't any springtime decorations around. Town Square used to have a set of Duffy and Friends topiaries or statues. This year, these Playdays decorations did not return, and in its place is the 20th anniversary Mickey ribbon. A big surprise to me, but a pretty delightful one. This piece of decoration first debuted last year as part of the park's 20th anniversary celebration, but was removed for other seasonal events including Halloween, Christmas, and Chinese New Year. I thought I would not have a chance to capture this again before the 20th anniversary ends. But now it has returned, with Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy still present. It is definitely way more pleasant than any of the decorations Playdays offers. And it definitely ensures that Mickey and Friends are still present around the park as the springtime event is held. Furthermore, the Duffy springtime decorations around Main Street and the omnibus also did not return. The Main Street station this year is currently closed because according to the cast members, the Hong Kong Disneyland Railroad is suspended due to the construction of the Avengers attraction and will not reopen until 2 to 3 years later. At least now, we know the railroad's closure is not related to budget cuts, despite the website still listing it as operational adjustments. Either way, this means Duffy's railroad takeover and the Adventure Together celebration moment would not return, as these offerings could only happen when the railroad was operational. Good riddance to these. At least I don't get to see another Duffy face after I get irritated by the one at the main entrance. Meanwhile, at the Main Street shops, let's have a look at some of the merchandise products which really capture my attention. If you have bought anything related to Duffy and Friends Playdates this year, there is a good chance that you might actually see Mickey alongside Duffy and Friends on these products. This one window at the Emporium showed a big Mickey plush with Duffy and Friends. Throughout the store, there are a lot of plush figures and different products showing Mickey wearing that sailor outfit from the short. There are Playdays bottles with Mickey. There are Playdays cookies with Mickey. Mickey even has a new pair of mouse ears with a sailor hat from Playdays. It's really interesting. Shout out to the merchandise division for recognizing Mickey a lot throughout the event. And not just Mickey, I just noticed that even Minnie has some merchandise alongside Shelly May. A really well done to the merchandise division for actually recognizing these classic characters alongside Duffy and Friends. I actually kind of feel sorry for them too. I definitely feel that they tried their best to redeem Duffy and Friends playdays, but there are still the other divisions or just whoever decides to bring back the Duffy flow who still ruin it. Still, I think the merge team deserves some credit here. Duffy and Friends' popularity means that they are inevitably going to be around all the main street shops, but I can still see a variety of characters and movies being represented around Main Street, especially Mickey, which is something I typically expect in a Disney theme park and resort. Next, Duffy and Friends Playdays features a number of plush photo spots themed to some of the areas and rides at Hong Kong Disneyland. Apart from the Castle of Magical Dreams checkpoint, which specifically mentions journeys with Duffy and Friends, all these ride-based photo spots only set Hong Kong Disneyland and don't seem to reference Duffy and Friends. I actually really like these, as they let guests place literally any character onto these photo spots for photos. The possibilities are endless. The official marketing photos from Hong Kong Disneyland also shows that Mickey can fit on these rides instead of just Duffy and Friends, not only acknowledging Mickey again, but also encouraging guests to make the most of their mini rides. In my opinion, these photo spots also deserve credit. When you pass by some of these rides, you probably won't even know that they are related to Duffy and Friends Playdays, without knowing that these ride vehicles are pretty cute and even manage to become standalone attractions on their own. The way some of these rides are placed reminds me of the Easter eggs that used to be in some of the areas where these photo spots currently stand. Let's start with the Jungle River Cruise boat in Adventureland, which is located at the abandoned Rafts to Tarzan's treehouse. When is that attraction reopening, by the way? This area used to be where the Moana eggs were placed, and that little boat on top of these crates looked very similar. Having Tarzan's treehouse behind makes a very beautiful background when capturing the boat and whatever plush is on board. It gets even better when one of the Jungle Cruise boats just so happens to pass by this area. Personally, this is my favorite photo spot among all 7 of them. But for my favorite attraction, we have to head over to Grizzly Gulch and check out Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars. This mini mine car also has a beautiful backdrop with the iconic Big Grizzly Mountain at the back. The photos also get better if some of the mine cars just so happen to pass by, even though I had some concerns about how this mini mine car is placed. Unlike the Jungle River Cruise and other rides, this is not a flat surface and may lead to some of the plush falling off. So if you are planning to take pictures with your plushies, make sure that they are placed behind the lap bar. It's kind of cute and one clever way to help promote the rides. Because the moment you spot these mini rides, you would eventually want to ride on the actual counterpart. At least that was my case. Over at the Mystic Point Freight Depot, you can find the Mystic Magneto electric carriage, the right vehicle for Mystic Manor. It's a pretty blink and you miss it spot, so if you are searching for these, you have to look very carefully, similar to the Easter eggs. Once again, the mini ride vehicle provides enough seats for you to place your plushies for photos with stunning backgrounds, which in this case is Mystic Manor. You know, I actually prefer capturing the mini ride vehicles without anything on board. Just the photo op alone is really cute to see. The photo spots for Mystic Manor, Big Grizzly Mountain, Jungle River Cruise, and the castle first debuted last year. For this year, 3 new rides are added, all of which located around Fantasyland. This includes one of the horses from the Cinderella carousel close to the Walt Disney Dreammaker statue, one of the teacups from the Mad Hatter teacups in Alice in Wonderland, and a boat from It's a Small World in front of the iconic facade of the attraction. As you would notice, all these rides are well-known classic attractions at Disney parks, or at least variants of them, with some of the attractions even considered opening day attractions at Hong Kong Disneyland. Jungle Cruise, the Carousel, and Teacups all opened with the park in 2005. It's a Small World is a classic among the castle parks. Big Grizzly Mountain is a variant of Big Thunder Mountain, and Mystic Manor is a variant of Haunted Mansion. I kind of appreciate Hong Kong Disneyland acknowledging more of their rides. Even though these are part of Duffy and Friends Playdays, they wouldn't ruin the view of existing attractions unlike the Duffy Flow and Railroad, as these mini rides are only located around the corners. In fact, ride-related photo ops is something I totally expect them to do in each anniversary event, as the rides are partly what shapes the unique identity of each Disney theme park. And the ongoing 20th anniversary is definitely the best time for them to feature stuff related to rides like these. Speaking of which, Hong Kong Disneyland has released a series of blind box featuring some of these ride vehicles. I really love these rides on my collection. Having ridden them for so many years, I definitely hope to have a piece of that memory to take home with me. So really well done to the merchandise team again. You have delivered something I've been asking for years, and I cannot thank you enough for that. If anyone else also see these blind boxes, or even the full set of the series, I highly recommend you to buy these. They really deserve to be noticed. Let Hong Kong Disneyland know we want more of these rides. Anyway, back to our subject. 4 stars out of 5 for the mini ride vehicle photo spots. 1 star for the castle one because that's limited to Duffy only. Overall, a great tribute to the rides at Hong Kong Disneyland. I just simply hope that it's not related to the Playdays. If this event is no longer held, I think these can be repurposed to whatever successor that they have in mind, or even the 25th anniversary of the park. Moving on, I've just mentioned that the Duffy and Friends Adventure Together celebration moment did not return due to the railroad's closure. On the other hand, Duffy and Friends The Joy of Sharing show also did not return because the castle stage is currently occupied by the 20th anniversary castle show, Disney Friends Live Party at the Castle. Good riddance to that Duffy show too, although I personally think that it's absent only because of the 20th anniversary. There's currently a common trend where all the seasonal events are drastically downsized in favor of the ongoing 20th anniversary event. While the downsizing of the seasonal events is usually considered a negative thing, the downsizing for Duffy and Friends Playdays is a good thing, as I don't want the event to be held anyway. But since the Playdays is still moving forward, Hong Kong Disneyland still has to do something to satisfy the Duffy fans, so this spring, they made some additions to the ongoing castle show. By the way, I haven't really talked about the Disney Friends Live Party at the Castle on this channel, so I decided to comment a bit on this show before it comes to a close. Honestly, Disney Friends Live is genuinely enjoyable. It's not exactly perfect, but I like the majority of the show. Definitely not the Duffy and Friends part, obviously, but the general party vibes of the show sells me well. I like that kinetic energy throughout it. The music is pretty catchy. I like the colors of the show and all the props used, including the pyrotechnics. I like the choreography of the dancers and the characters. Speaking of characters, my favorite part of the show has to be the 2 sets of new outfits for the princesses. These princesses don't just wear their exclusive party gowns in their dedicated scene, but also their village outfits at the beginning of the show. Princess Aurora wears her bridal rose outfit. Tiana wears her orange dress seen at the end of her movie. And Belle wears her village outfit, which is rarely seen at Hong Kong Disneyland. These outfits all appeared inside their respective classic Disney movies, and I'm so surprised that they get to wear them in the show. In my opinion, just these outfits alone is a main draw to the entire show, as you cannot find them anywhere else around the world. And it feels easier to capture any character appearing on stage, as you don't have to wait a long line in order to capture them. It is really convenient for me when I want to capture the 20th outfits for Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy. Duffy and friends also appear wearing 20th outfits, but aside from Duffy, only 3 of his friends are randomly selected to appear each day. Despite that, I still get to capture all 7 members' 20th outfits, as I have watched the show multiple days. Even though I don't really care about Duffy and friends, I guess this is still a benefit, as we don't need to wait a long line at their playhouse to capture their outfits. Anyway, this is just the normal version of Disney Friends Live Party at the Castle. But during Duffy and Friends Playdays, all 7 members of Duffy and Friends now appear at the same time, wearing new sailor outfits. Since this is still a Duffy event, and given their popularity and how much attention they have received from Hong Kong Disneyland, new outfits for Duffy and Friends are pretty much inevitable. However, there's still one problem that really bothers me. Looking back at the short, as well as the merchandise products, you will certainly notice Mickey's new sailor outfit as part of the event. So, where's that new outfit Mickey is supposed to wear? I only see him wearing his old classic outfit here. How is that fair? Looking back, Mickey and friends have not received any new outfits ever since their 20th anniversary and Friendtastic outfits alongside Duffy and friends last year. But in the same year, Duffy and friends kept on getting new seasonal outfits when Mickey and friends got snubbed. This is particularly noticeable during Christmas, where Mickey and friends have not received any new Christmas outfits for 4 years, while Duffy and friends kept receiving them for 3 years straight. Now, these characters have gained new springtime outfits for 4 years in a row. But the reason why I'm so upset is that Hong Kong Disneyland originally gave me hope that Mickey, at the very least, would receive a new outfit as seen in the short and merchandise. This is like false advertising. Imagine if someone bought the exact same Mickey doll from the short, hoping to meet Mickey wearing this outfit, only to realize that it is impossible to do so. Look folks, there's a reason why I'm tired of Duffy and Friends, and believe that not every division of Hong Kong Disneyland has the effort to improve. Yes, I've just praised the merchandise division because that's the same division pumping out all the Duffy plush figures, but also the one actually trying to balance the presence of Mickey and Duffy. Then there are the other divisions that don't seem to care about Mickey and only keep repeating their same mistakes because they don't want to spend more money on giving him a new outfit. Nevertheless, Duffy and Friends don't really affect much on Disney Friends Live Party at the Castle. They are already part of the show at first, just that some friends of Duffy don't appear every day, and now they all appear at the same time. Impressively, even after this edition, Duffy and Friends have not replaced anyone in the show. In fact, the total number of participating characters has increased from 11 to 14, with Mickey and friends as well as the princesses still a part of the show. This is pretty decent, as they are actually expanding the show without removing anything from it. I was originally really worried if Duffy and friends are going to replace someone again, just like they did with the Winter Wonderland. Thankfully, that did not happen. At the end of the day, this castle show still made it clear that it is a Mickey show and not a Duffy show, as the story is about Mickey hosting a party for the park's 20th anniversary. During the show, Duffy and friends help Mickey decorate the area with balloons, while Mickey and Minnie dance alongside them. Duffy and friends are clearly still here, but not too much like the Joy of Sharing show or the Adventure Together celebration moment. While this is still a noticeably cheap addition, I would rather have this show over the other Duffy shows, as this one has a wider roster of characters, most importantly the classic ones. So for the normal version of Disney Friends Live Party at the Castle, which is no longer running unfortunately, I'm going to give it a 4 stars. And for the Playdays version of the same show, I'm going to give it also 4 stars. The addition related to Duffy and Friends Playdays doesn't really impact much on my enjoyment. Of course, if the show only features Duffy and Friends, just like let's say their Playhouse or the Joy of Sharing show, I would have rated it even lower. By the way, I gave Duffy and Friends Playhouse only 1 star for this reason, as well as their new outfits. Don't waste your time on these hour-long lines to meet Duffy and Friends unless you are so into them. All these outfits are available to capture in Disney Friends Live anyway, which is why I recommend you to watch this show instead. It is also worth noting that Disney Friends Live Party at the Castle is meant to be a 20th anniversary exclusive show. Once the 20th anniversary ends on June 7th along with the Playdays, this show will become extinct. So if Disney Friends Live is important to you, now is your last chance to experience it, as this show would no longer be performed afterwards. Honestly, I really don't want to recommend anyone to visit Hong Kong Disneyland during springtime because of the Duffy fall. But since the 20th anniversary alone is still a pretty attractive event, I guess I have no choice. Speaking of 20th anniversary, the new parade that debuted during the 20th celebration, Friendtastic, is still running throughout the Playdays, and is presumably going to keep running after both events conclude. Friendtastic is now the official regular daytime parade at Hong Kong Disneyland, so the days of no parade or cavalcade along the parade route are no more. This was a big problem from 2025's Playdays event, one that made me particularly hate springtime last year. Good thing that this problem is finally fixed, as something is being performed along the parade route every day. And in case you haven't seen my review, I've already praised Friendtastic enough to be something that actually fits the Disney standard. It features a lot of colorful floats with a wide variety of Disney characters, including both Mickey and Friends and Duffy and Friends. Okay, I still hate the Duffy float here. It's the main reason why I only gave this parade 4.5 stars instead of 5 stars. Regardless, I still really enjoy the majority of what Friendtastic has to offer. Additionally, the appearances of Mickey and Friends and Duffy and Friends are also guaranteed, even if Friendtastic is cancelled due to inclement weather. That is because Mickey's Rainy Day Express, now renamed Disney Friends Party Express, also features these characters from the main parade. That's another entertainment offering being performed along the parade route, further ensuring that Hong Kong Disneyland's parade route will not be empty during the Playdays, and that Mickey can still be found at least somewhere in the park each day. Noticeably, this is actually something I keep bringing up throughout the video. The approach in this year's Duffy and Friends Playdays is that they made sure Mickey Mouse and other characters and attractions are still available and not completely wiped out or taken over by Duffy during spring. Last year, there were a lot of attractions closed due to operational adjustments during this period. This year, there are also a number of attractions and even shops and restaurants on Main Street that are closed. Apparently, springtime is considered to be the off-season where crowd levels are typically lower. This explains why they usually schedule more closures during this time of year. Luckily, some of the Mickey shows are still running unlike last year, including Mickey's PhilharMagic and Mickey and the Wondrous Book, both of which are in Fantasyland. So if you are a Mickey fan wanting more Mickey instead of Duffy, go check them out. However, please note that Mickey and the Wondrous Book will temporarily stop showing in April to make way for Stellalou's Wonderful Wishes Ballet. Absent from last year's Duffy and Friends Playdays, the ballet show starring Stellalou, the purple bunny friend of Duffy, is returning this year and will be performed at the Disney Storybook Theatre from April 30th to May 31st. The story is about Stellalou achieving her dreams of becoming a master ballerina and starring in her very own Broadway show. With the collaboration with the Hong Kong Ballet team, as well as the detailed storytelling, this was the only good Duffy and Friends Playdays show in the previous years in my opinion. Although it is still a Duffy show replacing a Mickey show, I honestly wouldn't mind that much as long as it only lasts for 1 month or less. And let's be honest, Mickey and the Wondrous Book has already run for more than a decade, so sometimes switching shows would be refreshing, similar to Let's Get Wicked replacing Festival of the Lion King during Halloween. Assume they are going to bring back the exact same show from 2024, or at least a similar version, I'm going to give the 2026 version of Stellalou a rating between 3 stars and 4 stars. My suggestion for the show will still be to add Mickey into it, encouraging Stellalou to dance. If you look closely, there really aren't a lot of things happening in this year's Duffy and Friends Playdays compared to the last few years. All they did, aside from Floral Duffy, is just bring back Stellalou's Wonderful Wishes Ballet and promote the existing 20th anniversary shows, which include Duffy and Friends in them in the first place, since all the other Duffy shows cannot return. This is why we get to see Friendtastic, Disney Friends Live, and Momentous Party in the Night Sky on the Duffy and Friends Playdays page. Speaking of which, here are my brief comments on the final major entertainment offering for the 20th anniversary, Momentous Party in the Night Sky. Personally, I think the Party in the Night Sky edition is kind of redundant ever since its launch last year. And yes, this mostly has to do with Duffy and Friends again. Don't get me wrong, the drones are cool, and Mickey is here, originally he wasn't. I enjoy all the other sections of the show, especially the Main Street projections. However, I am just extremely tired with Duffy and Friends appearing everywhere in Hong Kong Disneyland. On the other hand, the entire edition as a whole feels like they are just forcing themselves to add something new to Momentous. Even though I like the other characters, I can't help but think that some of them are added just for the sake of making the show bigger without having them contribute much to the story. Like, why do Marvel superheroes appear for a few seconds? Why does Coco have another scene when there's already one in the existing portion of the show? Really, the Party in the Night Sky portion contains a lot of things that honestly overlap with the existing parts of Momentous that comes after it. So 4 stars out of 5 for Momentous Party in the Night Sky. FYI, the original Momentous got 5 stars and should be returning after the 20th anniversary ends. And these are the 7 key experiences of this year's Duffy event mentioned on the Pass website reviewed. I am not going to go through any of the stuff related to food or the hotels. I also won't go through anything from the Chip and Dale event as they are not quite related to Playdays. The stuff from this event looks cool though. I hope they make them permanent as Grizzly Gulch really needs something new and this might be the perfect addition. But before we end today's video, I would like to bring up one more thing. This is something exclusive to annual pass holders only, aka Magic Access members, but it actually has a strong impact on how I think about Duffy and Friends Playdays as a whole. From March 21st to April 2nd, Hong Kong Disneyland decided to hold the Magic Access Members Special Greeting Session. This was a special meet and greet where members could meet Mickey and Duffy or Minnie and Shelly May at Fantasy Gardens. Based on the idea, this was a decent offering which again ensured Mickey or Minnie's appearances during Playdays and paid tribute to Duffy's origin story of being Mickey's very own teddy bear made by Minnie. For Minnie and Shelly May, Minnie Mouse actually made her for Duffy, similar to how she made Duffy for Mickey. So this combination is also faithful to the source material. Of course, once again, Mickey and Minnie did not receive any new outfits unlike Duffy and Friends. Fortunately, the outfits they wore here were also pretty rare despite not exactly new. However, the issue here I would like to highlight is not about the outfits. Instead, there is an even bigger problem, which is the virtual queue, aka Disney Standby Pass. I'm not trying to find reasons to be negative, but I believe there are other fans out there who also suffered the same problem, which is why I would like to talk about it here. As you can see, I could only capture Minnie from outside the gazebo, and was unable to wait in line to meet her despite it being exclusive to Magic Access members. That is because no standby queue was provided, and members were forced to gamble through the standby pass system in order to get a slot to meet them. Unfortunately, since the characters only came out like 3 to 4 times during the day, with each session only lasting for approximately 30 minutes, only very limited amount of spaces were available. From my personal experience, even when I was all set at 12 PM when the reservations became available, I was also not guaranteed to get them as the slots ran out in just a few minutes. The worst part is, by the time it was my turn, the reservation system actually kicked me out and asked me to queue up again. This system was so weak and reduced my chances of getting to meet them. Unfortunately, when it was my turn to enter the system and click on that button, despite still showing an available time slot, it already stated that all standby passes had been issued by the time I pressed the button, with literally no other way to meet them. And since this meet and greet only lasts until April 2nd, and that I only had 1 day available to enter the park before it ended, this means I was completely unable to experience this so-called exclusive to Magic Access members meet and greet, where Magic Access members like me are unable to meet because of a damn reservation required. Please forgive me for my language, but I feel extremely bamboozled by this arrangement. Why the hell would a reservation still be required if it is just for Magic Access members? Are there really that many members in the park? If so, just let the characters come out for a longer time to deal with the high demand. They definitely have underestimated the popularity of Mickey and Minnie. They really should have opened up more sessions. And seriously, why still use virtual queue nowadays? Just let us queue up in a standby line first come first served as usual. I don't mind waiting as long as you let me meet them, because I love these classic characters and their stunning outfits. I haven't captured Minnie's springtime dress, and I appreciate Mickey and Duffy coming out together, so I entered the park hoping to do this meet and greet despite how much I want to avoid the Duffy floral. But the way Hong Kong Disneyland just asked us to return again another day when their reservation system and operational arrangements sucked was totally disrespectful to fans. It suggests that all they want is to trick us to enter the park in order to push up the attendance level, so that they will have another excuse to say Duffy and Friends Playdays is popular and shall be held again, despite how much Channel of Magical Dreams hates Floral Duffy. This is really disgusting. Do they really want me to end my Magic Access membership? I do not mind actually. I'm already planning to spend my money originally meant for Hong Kong Disneyland on the new Disney Adventure World instead. Not to mention that the Olaf animatronic Disney promised for both parks still hasn't debuted at Hong Kong Disneyland. They cannot keep tricking me like this. I've already been heavily irritated by the Duffy flow and all the Duffy madness for years, and if they keep failing us like that, then they are really going to lose me, especially when all the other parts out there are at the same time cooking way more attractive offerings. The negligence in their service and guest satisfaction is totally unacceptable, especially when they are charging us expensive prices. This meet and greet was originally the golden opportunity for Hong Kong Disneyland to redeem themselves and Duffy and Friends as a whole after the Floral Duffy atrocity. But like I said, the different divisions of Hong Kong Disneyland are not cooperative and instead made matters worse. Don't get me wrong, I am well aware that some divisions want to rebuild trust from fans, and yet there are also some of them that don't seem to give a shit and only care about whether they have enough guests spending enough money to give them another profit and attendance increase. I'm sure that I'm not the only MA member who got turned away due to the standby pass system, so if you have experienced the same issue, I highly advise you to share this video. We need to tell Hong Kong Disneyland that they have messed up big time. And in order to avoid losing any more loyal customers like me, they really should stop this damn system and compensate by giving us an easier way to meet Mickey and Duffy or Minnie and Shelly May. I know I've been way too harsh sometimes, but pretend that this is you. Will you also be disappointed if you cannot get something that they promised you? I really hope everyone will understand why I am so mad. I don't want to criticize them so much, especially after I've supported them for so many years. You can definitely feel that when I have a few positive things to say about Playdays despite it being my least favorite seasonal event. I am trying to help them. I want them to know what doesn't work and what actually works. I've tried my best to tone down myself, especially when I'm already losing a lot of friends and followers after all the criticisms I made. But Hong Kong Disneyland is really not helping. They really should pay close attention and stop making these mistakes if they want me to continue supporting them. My money can be used in anywhere else. Do they really want me to stop extending my annual pass and spend all that money on somewhere else? This Disney theme park really should think about that carefully. To conclude, Duffy and Friends Playdays has been my least favorite seasonal event in all of the Disney parks since it was introduced in 2023. However, I do appreciate some people at Hong Kong Disneyland acknowledging some of the criticisms and trying their best to improve the event. The overall event this year is undeniably a big improvement from last year, with some of the things I strongly dislike no longer happening and replaced by the ongoing 20th anniversary offerings, which I still really enjoy, for the most part. There are also some good things from previous years that returned, or will return, such as the photo spots that actually fit the occasion of 20th anniversary, even if they are not intended to. The biggest improvement for sure is that the presence of Mickey Mouse can still be felt during springtime, particularly on the merchandise products. Unfortunately, Not every division at Hong Kong Disneyland has the same mindset, as some of them don't seem to care about guest satisfaction and keep repeating some of their same mistakes from previous years. As a result, big disappointments are still being made, making fans, including myself, not wanting to enter the park as we used to. Although the number has been reduced from last year, these disappointments have sadly ruined the hard work for some of the cast members, as fans still believe that Hong Kong Disneyland doesn't really care about customer needs. As a result, it's just really hard not to call Duffy and Friends Playdays a cash grab. It's sad, and I really don't want to keep on complaining, because after all these improvements, I can actually still feel a little bit of that Disney feeling inside the park, even during the Playdays. But what happened with the Magic Access meet and greet just made me really upset, as I was unable to get what they promised. So in the end, I still hate Duffy and Friends, and will probably avoid visiting Hong Kong Disneyland throughout most of springtime until this event comes to an end. And unless they stop bringing back Floral Duffy, I'm afraid that this is not going to change anytime soon. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching again, and sorry about some of the things I said in the video being too harsh for you to hear. If you happen to agree with some of the points I made, please remember to like the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel's Instagram account for more updates. Thanks for watching, see you next time.